protagonists?
The people who are going to play out the story of Antigone for you.
That's her, over there.
Antigone.
That thin little girl not saying a word.
Just sitting there thinking. What's she thinking?
That any minute now, she'll have to become
Antigone.
To somehow break the bounds of what she once was. The rather pale and withdrawn young girl who no one in the family really takes seriously. And become
Antigone, who must rise up and face the world. And Creon, who is her uncle, who is the king.
She's thinking that she's going to have to die, and that she's young and she'd rather not. But she's Antigone, and that's the part she has to play.
And she has to play it to the hilt. Ever since the curtains rose, she's been feeling it. A sort of distance. A distance growing and growing at a giddying rate. But not just between her and her sister Ismene. That's Ismene over there, the one chatting and laughing with her head down there. But also between her and us. Between her and those of us that are quite content to sit here and watch her. Quite content because we don't have to die. Well, we do, but not necessarily tonight.
the young man I mentioned earlier. Yes, him. The one talking to the pretty girl Ismene, Antigone's sister. He's called Haman. He's the son of Creon and Antigone's fiancé. It's rather odd that, because he's much more Ismene's type. They both share a taste for fun and parties, for happiness and for success, even for sensuality.
If you haven't noticed, Ismene is much more beautiful than Antigone. But there was that one night, a while back, the night of the ball, where Haman was dancing with Ismene, and only with Ismene. And who can blame him? She looked so ravishing in a brand new dress. But that was the night, nevertheless, when he disappeared in search of Antigone. And he finds her as you find her now, sitting, dreaming, hugging her knees. Then he asked her to marry him, just like that. No one quite understood why. So she looked up at him with her great big serious eyes, quite unsurprised, and with a hint of sad sweet smile, said quite simply, yes. And then the orchestra struck up a new number, and there was Ismene, laughing, dancing, surrounded by young men. And there was Haman. And guess what? He was going to be Antigone's husband.
Of course he never knew Antigone would never have a husband, and all that princely title would earn him was the right to die.
That larger man over there, the one with the gray hair sitting on his page, lost in thought, that's Creon. He's the king. His face is lined. He's tired. He has to govern, to rule men, and it's a tricky business. It's exhausting. In the old days when Oedipus was still alive, he was merely head courtier. He used to love music and books and beautiful things. But Oedipus and his sons died, so he abandoned his library and his antiques, rolled up his sleeves, and got on with the job. Sometimes, in the evenings when he's beside himself with fatigue, he wonders if it's all a waste of time, a vain pursuit, trying to fool men, a rather sordid occupation, better left to the lower order like looking after beasts. But then, come the morning, he sees things differently, more pragmatically. These are nothing more than problems, he thinks, precise problems, to be precisely solved. And so up he gets, and calmly starts his day, as any work would.
The older lady over there knitting. No, not her, that's the nurse. She brought the two sisters up. Up there. That's it. That's Eurydice, Creon's wife. She'll be named throughout the whole play until it's her turn. Her turn to get up and die. She's a good woman, Eurydice. Noble, loving, but she can be of no help to Creon. He's all alone. Alone apart from his page, who's far too young to be of any help either.
That thin little girl, right up against the wall, all on her own, the messenger. She's the one who'll have to announce Haman's death not long from now. You'll notice she's not mixing or chatting with the others. That's why. She knows.
Who else have we got? Oh yes, those three red-faced guards over there. They're not a bad bunch. They have their wives and their kids and their worries just like everyone else. Quite soon you'll be seeing them go about their business, seizing people, taking them away to their death, that sort of thing. They don't make a song or a dance about it. It's just what they do. It's their job. They reek of garlic and of red wine, and they're completely devoid of imagination. They're quite simply tools of justice. And for the time being, that means Creon's justice. But then again, they'll arrest anyone. Should the need arise, should the order be given, but that'll happen too.
And now that's it. That's everywhere. Now they act out their story for you. Of course, the story began before. There's a history. There's always a history. Then the slave king had two daughters. We've already met them. Ismene and Antigone. But he also had two sons, who aren't actually here because they're already dead. They're called Antigone and Polynices. And when their father died, it was decided that they to both share the throne of kings, each ruling a year, taking it in turns. Perfectly reasonable, but not to them. Well, what had happened was that Antigone, the older brother, had refused to give up the throne once his year was up. So, civil war. Polynices brought in reinforcements. That war's over now. Both the brothers are dead, and Creon is king. And Creon has decreed that Eteocles should be given a state funeral, whereas Polynices, the rebel, the man who dared to raise arms against Thebes, should be left to rot without a headstone, left to be eaten by the vultures and the wild dogs. And that anyone at all who should try to give him a proper burial should be condemned to death. That is his decree. So there we have it.
Where have you been?
Just out walking.
Walking.
Yes, just out for a stroll. And yeah, it was lovely, so lovely and gray. You'd never guess it now, not now. It's gone all pink and yellow and green like some gaudy picture postcard. You should get up earlier if you want to see the world draining in all color.
I get up early enough, thank you very much. I get up and I go to your room to see if you're still tucked up, but you're not. You're up and out off somewhere.
It's funny. The garden was still asleep. That's what's nice about gardens. We forget all about us.
I went to the back door, left it ajar, that's how I knew.
It's as if everything were waiting. The fields, everything, wet and waiting, silently. And I really was embarrassed to be making such an unholy racket on the pavement, to be breaking their silence, because I knew it wasn't me they were waiting for. So I took off my sandals and slipped into the countryside, imperceptibly.
Be sure to give your feet a good wash before you go back to bed.
I'm not going back to bed.
What? It's 4 in the morning. Not even that. And I go up and I go to your room to see if you're still tucked up, but you're not. The bed's quite cold with no one inside.
Do you think it's always that beautiful and that thrilling? The thrill of being the very first out of doors in the morning.
What do you mean morning? It's the middle of the night. What are you saying? That you just went out for a stroll? Little fibber, where have you been?
You're right. It is the middle of the night. I'm the only one who thought it was morning. Isn't that wonderful? To be the only one?
That's right. Speak in riddles. Go all poetic on me. You don't fool me for 1 minute. I was young once, just like you. Don't think I don't know all the tricks. So tell me, you bad, bad girl, where have you been?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad.
You were seeing someone, weren't you? Deny it.
I can't. I was seeing someone.
You've got a lover, haven't you?
Yes, I have. For him.
Oh, this is brilliant! This is perfect! The king's daughter! You work your fingers to the bone to bring them up, but push comes to shove. They're all the same. I didn't think you were like that. I really didn't. Oh, you were never primping or preening yourself. Never trying to get yourself noticed. Oh, you were never like that. I used to think to myself, come on, darling, make an effort. Hair like a bird's nest, always the same old dress. Your sister Ismene, on the other hand, with her ringlets and her ribbons, oh, she turned all the boys' heads. I used to say that I'll never get you off my hands. But now I see the truth. You're just as bad as your sister. You're worse, because you're a hypocrite. So tell me, who is he? Oh, some rough boy, I bet. Some bad boy. Some boy you can never bring home to the family and say, this is the boy I love. Oh, this is the boy I want to marry. That's it, isn't it, you little slut?
it. God help us, each and every one. I promised her mother I'd make a decent girl of her, and now look at her. But don't think you've heard the last of this. Oh, no. You may think I'm just your nurse, just an old servant, just an old chattel. But your Uncle Creon will hear about this. I swear he will.
Yes, Nana, my Uncle Creon will absolutely hear about this. Now leave me.
Leave me, she says. He'll have a thing or two to say about it. About Haman. Your fiancé! Your fiancé! Oh! 4 in the morning, she's engaged to be married. She's off doing God knows what.
Nana, please don't shout, not this morning.
Not shout? Oh, I'll shout it from the rooftops. I promised your mother I would keep you pure. What would she say if she were here? You stupid old woman, that's what she'd say. Oh, you stupid old woman. Sure you fed her, ran around after her, kept her warm in the winter, but you didn't keep your eye on the ball, did you? Come 4 in the morning, you're fast asleep. She's off and out and up to her mischief. By the time you can be bothered to check on her, the bed's already cold. That's what she'll say to me when I meet her face-to-face up there. And I'll die of shame if I wasn't dead already. Because what could I say to her apart from, yes, Madam Jocasta? Oh, it's all true.
Nana, please don't cry. And it's not all true. You'll be able to see her one day, as I'm sure you will, and she'll say, thank you, Nana. Thank you for everything you did for little Antigone. She knows why I went out this morning.
So you haven't got a lover?
No.
So it was what, a joke? I'm too old for jokes and for games. You were always my favorite in spite of your bad character. Your sister was always nicer to me, but I knew that you really loved me. That if you loved me, you wouldn't lie to me. So tell me truthfully, why was your bed stone cold when I came to find you?
I'm still pure. I promise. And I have no lover apart from Haman, my fiancé. And I'll never have any lover but him. I promise you that too, if you'd like that. So save your tears, Nana. You'll need them in time. When you cry like that, I feel like a little girl again. And I don't need to feel little. Not this morning.
You're up already? I went to your room.
Yes, I'm up already.
They're both as bad as each other. What are you doing? Running around before the servants? Can I remind you both that you're princesses? There are standards. Running around before breakfast will catch your deaths.
It's all right. It's not cold. It's summer. Go and make us some coffee. I need some coffee. It'll do me good.
What am I thinking? She's wasting away for want of a hot drink. I will reverse.
Are you ill?
No, just a bit weary, that's all. I did get up rather early.
I didn't sleep either.
That's awful. You've got to sleep. You've got to stay beautiful.
Don't make fun of me.
I'm not, honestly. You are beautiful, and you always were, and I now find that somehow reassuring. Do you remember when we were little? I was so unhappy, perhaps that's why. But remember, I used to throw mud at you, and I'd put worms down your back, and one time I tied you to a tree, and I cut off all your hair, all your beautiful hair. I was jealous. It must be so much easier not to think stupid thoughts with all those lovely curls put up around your head.
Why are you avoiding the issue?
What do you mean?
You know what I mean.
Yes.
I was up all night thinking it through.
Yes.
And we can't do it.
Why not?
He'll have us put to death.
Well, yes. He'll certainly do that. We all have our parts to play. Ours is to bury our brother. His is to have us put to death. Those are our roles. What can we do about it?
I don't want to die.
It's not exactly what I want either.
Listen, I've been going through it in my mind. I'm older than you. I reflect on things. You do whatever pops into your head, and if it's a mistake, then there we go. I like to weigh things up. I like to think about things.
Sometimes it's better not to think too much.
Is it? I know it's all ghastly and it's all a mess, and I'm sorry for my brother, but I have to say that I do partly understand my uncle's point of view.
I don't want to partly understand anything.
He's the king, he has to set an example.
But I'm not, and I don't. I'm the bad one, remember? The wild one. Naughty Antigone who gets sent up to her room or made to stand in a corner and serves her right. Serves her right for being so disobedient.
Typical, typical. Look at you, your frowning, blinker little face. You just do what you want and don't listen to us all. Well, listen to me. I'm right more often than you are.
I have no desire to be right.
Then at least try and be reasonable.
Reasonable. I've been hearing that word since I was tiny. Be reasonable. Don't touch the water. Wonderful water, flowing and freezing. You'll only get the floor wet. Be reasonable. Don't play with the earth. You'll only get it on your clothes. Don't bulge your food. Don't give all your money to the first beggar you see in the street. Don't just run until you drop, or drink when you're thirsty, or bathe whenever you feel like it. Be reasonable. Well, I don't want to be. When I'm old, I'll be reasonable. If I ever get old. But not now.
He's stronger than we are. He's the king, and the whole city's on his side. Thousands of people all swarming through the streets of Thebes.
I'm not listening.
The mob is murmuring, and the murmur will grow. Thousands of voices and arms and hands. Thousands of angry faces that will spit in hours and will be dragged through their hatred and their stink and their laughter to the scaffold. And the guards will be waiting with their stiff necks and their stupid, fat, obedient faces, ready and willing to do exactly what they're told, be it good or ill. And we'll suffer. God, how we'll suffer. We'll feel the pain growing and growing till it's unbearable. But that's not when it stops. It carries on, getting stronger and stronger, rising to a piercing scream. And I can't bear it. I can't bear it.
You have been thinking it through.
Yes, all night, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
I'm such a coward. I've always been a coward.
So have I. What's that got to do with it?
Don't you want to live?
Do I want to live? You're joking. Who's the first up every single morning? The first to feel the cold, fresh air on her bare skin? Who's the last to bed? Not resting till she drops so as not to squander a single moment of the night. Who was it when she was little who used to cry all the time because there were too many plants, too many animals in the world, too many for her to know them all?
My little sister.
Don't touch me. Don't stroke me. We'll only both start sniffling. You say you've been thinking it through. The whole city screaming for our blood. The pain of torture. The fear of death. And that's made up your mind.
Yes, it has.
Fine. Fair enough. It's as good a reason as any.
Antigone, please listen. It's proper for men to believe in ideals and to die for them. But you're a girl.
Oh yes, I know that. And every day I curse the fact.
You have your own happiness in the palm of your hand. You have a fiance. You're young. You're beautiful.
I'm not.
Not like everyone else, but differently. None of the boys can ever take their eyes off you. You know that. Nor can the girls. They just stand and stare till you disappear from view.
So popular with boys and girls then. Brilliant.
And with Haman, what about him?
I'll take care of him this morning. I'll talk to him.
You're mad.
You've always said I was mad. You've always said it ever since. Ever. Go back to bed. It's daylight now, so nothing can be done anyway. By now my brother will be surrounded by an armed guard as though he actually succeeded in becoming king. Anyway, go back to bed. You're dead on your feet.
Aren't you?
I have no desire to sleep. But I promise I'll still be here when you wake up. Man is bringing me some food. Food fed, your eyes, you look so sleepy, your eyes are a little gone.
I'm starting to talk you around, aren't I? That's it, isn't it? You want me to speak to you again?
Of course, she's sweet. I'll let you all sweet. I'm going to sleep. You just stay beautiful. Where's me?
Here we are, little one. Nice hot cup of coffee and some warm buttered toast.
I'm really not that hungry.
I made it just the way you like it.
That's sweet of you, really, but I'll just have something to drink.
You hurt? Tell me where you hurt.
No, I didn't. But do keep me safe. You've always been so strong for me. Stronger than the fever, stronger than the nightmares, stronger than the scary shadows on the bedroom wall. Stronger than that. Hold my hand like you were by my bedside.
What's wrong, little one?
Nothing. It's just that I'm a little bit too little, or everything. Please don't tell me.
What do you mean, Petal?
Nothing. Anyway, you're here, so it'll all be all right. I'll hold your hand, your rough, strong hand, and that'll make everything all right. Nana? You know my little dog?
Yes.
You promised you won't scold her too much?
She shouldn't be allowed in the house. She gets her filthy paws everywhere.
Even if she misbehaves, you promise?
I'll let her chew the place to bits, not say a word.
That's right.
She wheezes on my carpet.
Even if she wheezes on your carpet, I beg that you don't scold her. And please talk to her. Talk to her as often as you can.
What, talk to a dog?
Yes, but not like people talk to dogs, like you're talking to a person, like I do.
Why wouldn't you be able to do it yourself?
And if she still looked too sad, if she looked like she was, you know, waiting, with her little nose jammed under the door the way she does when I leave her room, it might be better, don't you think, to have her killed? Just to put her out of her misery.
To have her killed. To have your little dog killed. What madness has gotten into this morning?
No madness. Anyway, here's Haman. Now go, please, and don't straight your pants. I'm sorry, Haman. I'm sorry we made a row. I'm sorry for everything. It was all my fault. Please forgive me.
Don't be silly. I forgave you the moment you left the room. The moment you slammed the door, as well as you know. Your perfume was still hanging in the air and I'd already forgiven you. Who did you steal it from, that perfume?
Miss Maney.
And the lipstick, and the powder, that beautiful gown. And in whose honor did you make yourself so beautiful?
And I love how foolish I was to waste a whole evening in such a beautiful evening.
We'll have other evenings.
Will we?
And doubtless other hours. It's all part of happiness.
Happiness. Yes. Listen, Haman.
Look at me. I'm all ears.
I don't want you to be joking this morning. I want you to be serious.
All right. Being serious.
Hold me. Hold me tighter than you've ever held me. I want to be stamped through with your strength.
There you are. It's all my strength.
It's good. It's nice. Listen, Haman.
Yes.
You know that little boy we were going to have?
Yes.
You know I would have protected him from everything.
I know.
I would have held him so tight he never would have been afraid of anything. Never, ever. Not our little boy. And all right, his mother would only have been tiny and she never would have combed her hair, but he would have been safer with her than with any real mother, any big, bosomy mother with a flowery apron. That's true, isn't it?
Absolutely, my love.
You would have had a real life, wouldn't you? I mean, you loved me that night. You really loved me, didn't you?
What night?
The night of the dance, when you came looking for me. You're sure that you never regretted it, or that at any point, however deep, deep down, you wished you'd asked his name.
Don't be silly.
I mean, you love me. Don't you really love me? I mean, are your arms lying when they hold me? Or your hands, your big, strong hands, are they lying when they touch my back? All of you, the smell of you, the confidence that flows through me when I nestle my head. That's meant, isn't it?
Yes, Antigone. I love you.
I'm scrawny though, aren't I? Skinny, swarthy, I am. As many as pink and gold and lush as a peach.
Antigone.
I know, I'm blushing. Ashamed of myself. And I want you to know that I will be very proud to be your wife. Your real wife. Someone you touched just casually as you were sitting down to dinner. Casually, absent-mindedly, the way you might touch a possession. Right. Now I have two things to tell you. And when I've told you them, you are to leave at once. Even if what I say seems strange or odd or hurts you. Do you promise?
What are you going to say?
No. No. First promise me that you'll leave and say nothing. I mean it. If you love me, promise me that. You can see I'm asking you from my heart. It's the last mad wish you'll ever have to grant me.
Very well, I promise.
Thank you. Right. Let's begin with yesterday. You asked me why I came to you wearing Ismeni's gown and her perfume and her lipstick. It was foolish of me. I agree. I wasn't sure if you really wanted me, really desired me. So I made myself more like the other girls so you would want me more. Is that right? Yes. And then you laughed at me and we had a row and my bad side got the better of me and I ran away. But last night I came to you so you would take me. So I could be your wife before I was your wife. I mean, you promised not to ask any questions. You promised. Anyway, I'm going to tell you. I wanted to be your wife. Because I love you. So much. This is going to hurt you. And I'm sorry, my darling, I'm sorry. Because I'm never going to marry you. You promised! Now go. Just go. And say nothing. If you say a word, or so much as take a step towards me, I will throw myself out this window. I promise. On our little boy's life. The little boy we dreamed we'd have. Only little boy I'll ever have. Just go. Tomorrow you'll understand. Perhaps sooner than that. Just go. That's all I ask. If you love me. Here we go. That's Haman taken care of.
Antigone, there you are.
Yeah, here I am.
I couldn't sleep. I was worried that you might go out there and try to bury him, even in broad daylight. We're all here, Antigone. We're all with you and around you, and we love you. Me, your sister, Haman, Nana, your dog. We're here, we're alive, and we need you. All right. Polynices is dead, but he never loved you. He was always a stranger to you, a bad brother, so forget him, Antigone. We all have. Let his ghost stalk the world for all eternity, unburied, unmourned. For that is Creon's law, and it's stronger than you. You always try to take on the whole world, but remember, you're tiny. So please, stay here with us, and don't go out there tonight.
You're too late. When you met me this morning, that's what I've been doing. Burying our brother.
Antigone!
One of the guards is sitting watch over the body. Show him in.
Jonas, sir, 2nd Battalion.
What do you want?
Well, sir, the Jew lost siege should come and tell you, and I lost. So here I am. We thought it'd be best if only one person came to tell you so as not to leave the body unguarded. There's normally 3 of us, you see.
What
standing
exactly are you saying?
that there's 3 of us. Not just me, 2 others, Durand and the corporal.
So why aren't I talking to the corporal?
Absolutely, that's what I said, that the corporal should come and tell you, because obviously the highest ranking would normally, but the others said no, they wanted to draw lots. Would you like me to go and get the corporal?
No. No. Since you're already here speaking.
I've been in the service 17 years. Volunteer, 1 medal, 2 citations. I'm a soldier. I'm a guard. That's what I am, that's what I do. Guard. And I follow orders. To the letter. People always say you can rely on Jonas.
Excellent. So why are you so scared?
Normally it would be the corporal. Actually, I'm up to corporal, but I haven't gone through yet. June it should be.
Look. Speak, will you? Something's happened, then all three of you are equally responsible, and I really don't care who tells me.
Of course, the thing is, it's the body. We've been guarding it. And no one can say we haven't been. We have the early shift too, which is the toughest one, the worst shift. God, the early shift. Ah, thanks a lot, we always say. Thanks a bunch. So there we were, talking and shivering and stomping our feet to keep warm and not sleeping. I promise you, not one of the three of us was sleeping. It was cold. Suddenly I look over at the body. I was right next to it, obviously, but I still usually glance at it from time to time. It was right. What? Oh no, it was me who raised the alarm, sir. I was the first one to see it.
The alarm? Why?
It was the body. Someone had covered it over. Not completely, obviously. We were standing right there. They wouldn't have had time, but enough to hide it from the vultures.
Are you sure it wasn't some animal?
No, sir. That's what we thought at first, or hoped, rather. But the earth was scattered all evenly like. Got a funeral. It was someone who knew what they were doing.
Who would dare? Who would dare defy my orders? Were there any signs? Any clues?
No, sir. Just a light footstep, as light as a bird's. But afterward, Durand found a spade, like a little spade, like a kid's toy spade. Oh no, it wasn't. We actually kept the spade if you wanted to look at it.
A kid? A kid. You see how it is with these people? You take their opposition and you smash it to bits. And yet it still grows. All of Polynices' friends all have their gold lodged here in Thebes, and I won't let them get their hands on it. And suddenly, all the leaders of that stinking mob are allied to all the princes and the priests, and they're all trying to get a little something for themselves. And a kid. A nice touch, that one. You can see him now. The hardened little face of a hired killer, tucking his toy spade back into his jacket pocket. Some child that they brainwashed, young enough and rash enough to spit at my guns, and then guess what? What? His innocent little blood is on my hands, and he's martyred for the cause. What a godsend for them. But perhaps he wasn't working alone. Perhaps he had accomplices. In my guard, even.
No, sir, we did everything by the book. I swear to it.
Who have you talked to about this?
No one, sir. We called the relief and I came straight here.
Listen to me, and listen carefully. These are your orders. You're to go back to the body and send the relief guard away. You will take the next watch, and you must watch the body, and not a word to a soul. You have been negligent, and be sure that you will be punished. But not yet. And if anyone hears from your mouth that Polynices' body has been covered over, all three of you will die.
Sir, we never told a soul. I swear to it. Except, it's possible since I've been here, the other two might have mentioned something to the relief. I don't know. Listen, sir, I've got 2 children, the youngest of which is still tiny. If anyone talked, I was here the whole time. It couldn't have been me. It must have been the others. You're my witness.
Go. And if no one hears of this, you may yet live. Come on, we have to tell everyone the whole story to clear up this mess. Would you die for me? Yeah, of course. Without a qualm, a kid.
There we have it. Spring is wound up nice and tight. That's what's nice about tragedy. The slightest touch of a finger, the flick of a feather, will set it off.
You just sit back and watch it go. It's a well-oiled machine in perfect working order. It's been up and running since the beginning of time.
Death is a part of it, and so is betrayal, and so is despair.
It's neat. Tragedy is neat and tidy, and relaxing in a funny sort of way. Now, drama's different. Drama's something else.
Mustachioed villains.
Damsels in distress.
Dashing young heroes.
The last minute revelations.
She didn't have to drink that poison.
He could have rushed in 5 minutes earlier with the police in tow.
Tragedy's calm. There are no sudden surprises, and it promotes a sort of team spirit among the protagonists. They're on it together, you see.
He who kills is as innocent or as guilty as the victim. It's all in question of what part you play.
So ultimately, tragedy is almost stressful, you see. Because there is no hope, and there's nothing more unsettling than hope, is there? In drama, people struggle and argue. It's a practical choice, and actually rather vulgar. In tragedy, to argue is kingly. It's noble. And let's face it, there's not a lot else you can do.
Come on, miss. Don't make a fuss. Please, you can explain it all to the boss. I've got my orders and that's that. Why you were there, what you were doing, I don't want to know. Everyone's got their reasons. Everyone's got their excuses. I can't listen to all of them, so I don't listen to any of them. Keep a hold of her and shut her up. Whatever it is she has to say, I don't want to hear it.
They're hurting me. Tell them to let go of me. I am Antigone, daughter of Oedipus. I won't run away.
Daughter of Oedipus. You sound like one of those whores we pick up who claim to be best friends with the chief of police.
I don't mind dying, but I do mind them touching me.
What about dead bodies, though? And mud. You don't mind touching them, do you? And what happened to your little spade, then? Had to do it with your bare hands this time, did you? Bloody nerve. I turned my back for a second to get a cigarette. I only just pop it in my mouth, and there she is, clawing at the ground like some wild animal, kicking and screaming, "Let me finish! Let me finish!" She's mad.
Well, I arrested a mad woman like that the other day. She was just showing her ass to passerby. That's mad.
There's gotta be a drink in this for us.
Oh, I should hope so. More than one.
We've got the day off Sunday. Now let's celebrate. Shall we take the family? No. Let's make it just us. We don't want the wives nagging and the kids running around and screaming, do we?
Yeah, perhaps there will be a reward even.
Should be. It's important enough.
Flinchard. You know Flinchard from the 3rd Battalion. When he nabbed that arsonist, he got an extra month's pay.
An extra month? In that case, we should go to the Arabian Palace.
What, for a drink? Now you're mad. Have you seen the prices? Now if you're going upstairs, for the girls, that's good value. I tell you what, we'll go someplace else for a drink first, and then we'll go to the palace. May have to book ahead. It's possible to be a big party, but...
Yeah. Can I just sit down, please?
All right, let her sit down, but don't let go of her.
Let go of her? What are you thinking of?
We're the watch, sir. We all came this time.
Who's watching the body?
We called the relief, sir.
I told you to send them away, and I told you not to say a word.
We didn't, sir, not to a soul, but when we arrested her, we thought it best to bring her straight here. Only we didn't draw lots this time. We all 3 of us came. See? Wasn't that...
Idiots. Where did they arrest you?
By the body, sir.
And what were you doing about your brother's body?
What was she doing? That's why we brought her here. She was clawing at the ground, trying to cover the body again.
Do you realize what it is you're saying?
Ask the others. When we got back, we uncovered the body, but the sun was up by then and was starting to smell a bit in the heat, so we stood a ways away so as to be upwind. We thought no one's going to try anything in broad daylight. I turned to my mate for a cigarette, and I just got it to my mouth and said thank you. And by the time I turned back around there, she is clawing at the ground like some wild animal. She must have known she could be seen, but did she run when I tried to grab her? No siree. She just kept digging away with all her strength. I felt like a tigress when I tried to grab her too.
This is true.
Yes, it's true.
And the first time, last night, was that you too?
Yes, it was. The little spade I used to play with at the seaside. It used to belong to Polynices. That's why I left it next to him. But they took it away. So the second time I had to use my bare hands.
Go with them, and make sure they don't say a word until I come. Did you tell anyone about what you you were going to do?
No.
Did you meet anyone on your way out?
Nobody.
Are you sure?
Quite sure.
Listen, you're to go back to your room and say that you're ill and that you haven't been out since yesterday. Your nurse will say the same, and deal with them.
Why? You know full well I'll do it again.
Why were you trying to bury your brother?
I owed it to him.
I had forbidden it.
Even so, those who are not buried will wander forever and never find rest. If my brother had ever, when he was alive, if he'd ever come back from the hunt exhausted, I would have taken off his boots, gotten his bed ready, and made some food for him. Well, now Polynices is home from the hunt. He is home to where my mother and my father and even Antigone are waiting for him. He has the right to rest.
He was a rebel and a traitor, and you know it.
He was my brother.
You heard my decree. It was proclaimed in the market square and posted on every wall.
Yes.
You knew the punishment for any person found to be giving him a proper burial?
Yes.
And you thought, you being Antigone, daughter of Oedipus, heir to Oedipus's stubborn pride, you were somehow above the law.
No, I didn't think...
The law was made for you, Antigone! Laws are expressly made for the daughters of kings.
Even if I were scullery and heard the edicts proclaimed when I was in the middle of doing the washing up, I still would have dried my hands, gone into the street, still in my apron, and buried my brother.
Nonsense. Because if you had been a scullery maid, you'd have known I'd have you killed. So you'd have done nothing. You would have stayed at home and wept for your brother there. But no. You thought, I'm Antigone. I'm Creon's niece. I'm betrothed to his son. And come what may, he'll never have me killed.
On the contrary, I have always known that you would have me killed.
That's right. Oedipus's stubborn pride, all over again. That's you. Merely being human is never enough for your family. You always have to go head to head with destiny and death. The highlight of your father's whole life was to hear that he killed his father and slept with his mother. He drank it in, greedily, drop by drop. And then what better than to gouge out your own eyes and go begging with your children on the common highway? His glorious destiny! But we'll have no more of that. Those were dark days for Thebes, the darkest. Thebes deserves a king without a past. And if tomorrow some bedraggled messenger comes in from the mountains or God knows where and tells me there's some big question mark over my birth, like what happened with your father, I simply send him back to God knows where he came from. I wouldn't dwell on it, and I wouldn't speculate, and I wouldn't bother asking my wife any potentially embarrassing questions. And that's because I'm king, and kings have better things to do than indulge their own private feelings. So you listen to me. You may be Antigone, daughter of Oedipus, but you were only 20 years old, and it wasn't so long ago this sort of nonsense was dealt with by a spanking and you being sent back to your room with no tea. Goodness. Having yourself killed. Look at yourself. You're too skinny. Get fatter, preferably with Haman's child, because that'll be of more use to Thebes than your death. Think about it. And while you think about it, go back to your room. I have always liked you, no matter how difficult it may have been. I gave you your first doll, remember? And it wasn't that long ago either. Antigone, that's not the way to your room. Where do you think you're going?
You know full well where I'm going.
You don't seem to realize that if anyone, apart from those 3 idiots, finds out about what you've been doing, I'll have to have you put to death. But if you give up on this madness, and it is madness, I can still save you. 5 minutes from now, I won't be able to. Do I make myself clear?
I have to go and bury my brother's body again.
Oh, you must know that there are new guards around the body, and even if you manage to cover up with a few bits of earth, they'll simply scrape the dust off. And then what would you have achieved, apart from bloody fingernails and you being sent back here?
Nothing but that. I know. That's all I can do, but you have to do what you can.
Do you really believe in all that? All that mumbo jumbo? Do you really believe that your brother's soul is doomed to wander for all eternity, but for a few handfuls of dust and some tired old nonsense mumbled by some old priest? I mean, have you seen those priests? Trotting out last rites, whizzing through as many as they can so they're not late for lunch.
Yes, I have.
And this is why you're throwing away your life, is it? Because I've denied your brother that absurd pantomime? I mean, it's ridiculous.
You're right. It is ridiculous.
So why do you do it? For the others, who believe that sort of nonsense to rise up against me.
No.
So not for the others, and not for your brother. For whom then?
For nobody. For me.
You must really want to die, don't you? You look like some poor animal caught in a trap.
Don't feel sorry for me. Don't soften. Be strong. Do what I'm doing. Do what you have to do. And if you're human, do it quickly. That's all I ask. I can't be this brave forever.
I want to save you, Antigone.
You're the king. You can do whatever you like. Except that.
Really?
You can't save me. And you can't stop me.
Proud little girl. Like Oedipus.
You can only do one thing. Have me put to death.
What if I have you tortured?
Why would you want to do that? You know what would happen. I'd scream and beg for mercy and swear anything you'd wanted. And then, when the pain had stopped, I'd simply start again.
Listen to me, and listen carefully. You've cast me as the villain of this piece, and you yourself as the heroine. You know it. But don't push too far. If I were a tyrant, I'd have had your tongue torn out long ago, and you've been drawn and quartered and thrown into a ditch. So don't push your luck. You won't like where it gets you.
Let me know you're hurting me.
No, I'm stronger than you. I want you to know that.
Ow.
Perhaps this is what I ought to do. Hit you, pull your hair. Playground stuff. You're still child enough. Sure, I may be your uncle, but we've never been a particularly affectionate family, have we? So don't you find it funny that the old king who can put to death whomever he likes and has and will is trying so hard to keep you from dying?
Now you're pinching too hard. It doesn't hurt me anymore.
God, you're a pest! You know that? God knows I've got enough to do today, and God knows how. But I will save you. When you just put down a revolution, you've got lots to do. Lots in the intrigue. Fine. You're right. You're right. I like things to be nice and tight. All nicely scrubbed and shipshape. Do you think it disgusts me any less to have his body rotting out there in the noonday sun? I mean, at night, when the wind comes off the sea, you can smell him in the palace. But I never close my window, and I want all of Thebes to smell that putrid smell for a month at least.
You're disgusting.
I know. I have to be. It comes with the job. One can always discuss whether something should be done or not. But if it has to be done, it has to be done to the hilt.
But why are you doing it?
One morning, I woke up, and I was king of Thebes.
You could have said no.
I could have. But it would have seemed like a workman refusing a job. And it wouldn't have been honest. So I said yes.
You know, you're much too sensitive for a tyrant. She'll still have you put to death. Soon, you know you will. And that's why you're scared. There's nothing uglier than a man who's scared.
That's right. I am scared. I'm scared of you not giving up on this madness of having to have you put to death. It's not what I want to do.
Is that what it is to be king?
That's precisely what it is. So take pity on me and live. Isn't your brother's corpse rotting under my window payment enough for law and order and thieves? My son loves you. Don't make me add your life to the bill. I've paid enough.
No. You are the man who said yes. So now you'll pay and go on paying.
For the love of God, please try to understand. Try to understand you. There has to be one man who says yes. There has to be a captain of the ship. There has to be someone at the wheel, particularly when the crew is refusing to work. And they're looting the cargo, and the officers are getting ready to jump ship, and the mast is creaking, and the wind is howling, and the sails are beginning to rip, and everyone is going to die. Because it's every man for himself. And so if anyone refuses your orders, you shoot blindly into the crowd. Do you understand?
I'm not here to understand. That is what you do, not what I do. I'm here to say no to you and to die.
You must despise me, don't you? I've always imagined having this conversation with some pale-faced young man who tried to assassinate me. I never imagined having this conversation with you. And certainly not over something so petty. But I want you to be sure. Sure of the part you're going to play, as it is. Sure of why it is you're going to die. Do you really know the sordid little story you're about to sign your name onto? In blood?
What story?
The story of Antigone and Polynices. The story of your two brothers. You think you know it, don't you? But you don't. I'm the only person in all of Thebes to know it. But it seems to me that this morning, you have the right to know too.
What do you mean?
Firstly, what do you remember of your two brothers? Probably that they hated you, that they would never play with you, that they would mutilate your dolls, and had a sea of whispers you were never party to.
They were older.
And you were in awe of them. And later, when they started to wear long trousers and go out in the evening, and later still, when they started smelling like men and ignoring you.
I was a little girl.
And you see your mother crying, and your father getting angry, and you hear the distant sounds of voices raised and doors slamming in the corridor. And then they'd walk right past you, thoughtless, braying, and stinking of wine.
Yes. I do remember. One time I watched them coming home. I hid behind a door. It was morning. I was just getting up. They were just getting back. Polynices saw me. His face was pale, but his eyes were shining. And he looked so handsome in his evening clothes. And he said to me, "What are you doing here?" And he gave me a big paper flower he brought back from his night out.
And you kept it, didn't you? And I bet, yesterday before you went out, you found it in your bottom drawer. And had a good long look at it to give you courage.
Who told you that?
Oh, poor little Antigone. She kept the flower. Do you know who your brother really was?
I know you're going to say horrid things about
A
him.
feckless, vapid little rich kid. A hard, heartless little carnivore. All he was good for was spending his money on fast cars and nightclubs and girls. One time, I remember him talking with your father, who just refused to pay off his gambling debts. A large sum it was, and Oedipus just refused. Just said no. Said he'd had enough. And your brother's face went pale, and he shook his fist at him, and he swore at him like you would a servant.
That's not true.
And then he struck him. Just punched him in the face. And there was your father. Blood running down his face. And weeping. And your brother, giggling and lighting up another cigarette.
It's not true!
Remember, You were only 12 years old at the time. And then you didn't see him for a long time after that. Isn't that true?
Yes, that's true.
Well then, after that little rough-up, your father didn't want to punish him. Instead, he sent him off to the Argive campaign. And as soon as your brother was in Argos, the attempts on your father's life began. All of the would-be assassins, all of them, told us who had incited them, who had paid them, as it were. And it was him. Your brother. Not all the time, but mostly. And this is what I'm trying to tell you, to show you what goes on in the background, below the stairs, in the kitchen, in the wings of this drama you seem so keen to star yourself in. You'll remember yesterday, I organized a state funeral for Eteocles, and all of Thebes was out in force. School kids smashed their piggy banks and offered the contents to the crown. Veterans and pensioners, fired with false emotion, praised him in tremulous voices. So loyal, so faithful. What a good son to the king. and that's the irony of it, isn't it? What I'm trying to tell you is, Eteocles, the good brother, the paragon of virtue, was no better than Polynices. The good brother had been plotting to murder your father and sell Thebes to the highest bidder. And it just so happens that, quite by chance, your brother had gotten there first. So I had their bodies found on the battlefield. And when we found them, you're not going to believe this. They were in each other's arms, probably for the first time in their whole lives, impaled on the other's sword. After which, the cavalry had ridden right over them. But quite a mess, as it were, and didn't exactly leave them recognizable. So I had the more presentable of the two corpses hailed for my state funeral and ordered the other be left where it lay. And to be honest, I really don't know which was which. And to be frank, I really don't care.
Why did you tell me that?
Would it have been better to let you die for a pathetic lie?
Perhaps. I believed it.
What are you going to do now?
I'm going back to my room.
Don't go alone. Go and see Haman. Get married as quickly as you can. What we were just talking about is really quite beside the point. It really doesn't matter. You have your life. You have that treasure still.
Yes.
Dead to think. You're about to throw it all away. I understand, though. I would have done the same at 20. Life isn't what you think it is. Life is like water, and the young, they let it run right through their fingers. Cup it, and keep it safe. You'll find out for yourself, that probably too late, that life is a book one loves. It's a child playing at your feet. It's a comfy chair one can sit in and watch the sun go down. And you'll despise me even more for saying this, but it's one of the few consolations of old age. Life consists of nothing more than the happiness we can get out of it.
Creon. Thinking you could change my mind with vile stories about my brothers, or alter my purpose with impotent platitudes about happiness.
That's right. You're just like your father.
Yes! Just like my father. That's the family. We ask questions, and we won't rest until they're completely answered. Until there's not one bit of hope that hasn't been strangled out with our bare hands. When we come across your beloved hope, we spit on it and we stamp it out. It's disgusting!
Shut up! Look at you. Scream. Do you have any idea how ugly you are?
Yes, I am ugly! Father was ugly too. But Father became beautiful. And do you know when? At the very end, when all of his questions had been answered. When he could no longer doubt that he had killed his own father, that he had gone to bed with his own mother. When all hope was gone, stamped out like a beetle. When it was absolutely certain that he had to die if the plague was to be lifted from his people. And he was at peace. And he could smile almost. And he was beautiful. Whereas you, look at yourself, Creon. The candidate for election to happiness. The glint of fear and the suspicion in the corner of your eye, that ugly crease in the corner of your power-loving mouth. Oh, you said the word a moment ago. The smelly kitchen of politics. That's where you were fathered and whelped, in a filthy kitchen!
I ordered you to be quiet.
That's very odd. The kitchen boy giving the orders. It's normally the other way around.
There are people next door. Do you want them to hear you?
Perfect. Open the doors. I'd love for them to hear me.
For the love of God, shut up!
Go on, kitchen boy. Call your guards.
Antigone!
What do you want?
Forgive me, Antigone. Look, I've come. I've got the courage now. I want to go with you. Where? Creon. If you kill her, you have to kill me too. I was there. I helped her bury Polynices.
No! No! Not you, not now. It has to be me. It has to be just me.
If you die, I don't want to live. I don't want to be left behind.
You see, Creon? Her too. It's infectious, and the others who hear me will catch the disease. What are you waiting for? Have me silenced. Come on, Creon, have some courage. It'll only take a moment. Go on, kitchen boy, do your work!
Guards! Take her away.
At last.
Antigone! Antigone!
You're mad, Creon.
What have you done?
She had to die.
Creon.
Don't let Antigone die.
We will all carry the scar, all of us, for centuries to come.
It's what she wanted. None of us were strong enough to dissuade her. But now I understand. It was her destiny to die. And perhaps she didn't even know it. And perhaps Polynices was merely a pretext, and if we had given in, she'd have merely found another. Because that wasn't what was important to her. To say no and to die.
She's just a child, Creon.
What would you have me do? Condemn her to life?
Father!
Haman, my boy, I did everything I could to save her. I did everything. I promise. She doesn't love you. If she loved you, she would live. She's more in love with madness and with death.
But Father, they're taking her away. Can't you stop them?
I can't. She's spoken. Now the whole city knows the story. I have no choice but to put her to death.
Isn't there some other way?
You could say that she's gone mad and have her locked up.
No one would believe me. They say I saved her because she was to marry my son. I can do nothing.
Isn't there some other way of playing for more time?
Or banishing her.
The mob knows everything! And they're howling for blood! I can do nothing!
But Father, the mob is just a mob! You are the master here!
I'm master under the law, not above it.
But I'm your son. You can't let them take her away from me!
I can. I can, my boy. She's spoken. She's already left us.
How do you expect me to go on living without her? Every morning, every day, every evening, every hour in between without her. How do you expect me to put up with you and your posing and your posturing and your emptiness without her?
You have to accept it, Haman. There comes a time in every person's life, sooner or later, for better or for worse, when they have to become a man. And for you, that day is today.
That giant of a man, that tower of strength that used to protect me when I was afraid of the dark. Was that really you? The forbidden smell of the evening, the bread, the lamp. You take me into your office and show me your storybooks. Was that really you?
It was.
And all of that care, all of that pride in me, is that what that was for? To make a man out of me?
That's right.
It's not right! It's not fair! We still don't have to agree to this. It doesn't have to be today. You still have all of the power, just as you did back then! Please, Father, let me admire you still. Let me revere you. The world would be too bare, and I'd be far too alone if I still couldn't do that.
You are alone, Haman, and the world is bare. Look at me! Judge me. Good, because that's what it means to grow up. To see your father for how he really is.
Antigone! Antigone!
He'll go mad, Creon.
Yes. He will, boy. He loves her.
Creon, something must be done.
He can do nothing.
But he's wounded to his very heart.
So are we all.
So it's you then, is it?
What do you mean, me?
The last man I am to see.
Apparently.
Were you the one who arrested me earlier?
Yeah, that was me.
You hurt me. You didn't have to do that. Did I look like I was going to run away?
Listen, miss, please don't start. I was just doing my job. It was you or me.
How old are you?
39.
You got any kids?
Yes, 2.
Do you love them?
It's none of your business.
Listen,
Yes.
I'm going to die soon. Do you think it hurts dying?
I don't know. In the war, some people got a bayonet in the guts, and that hurt. Me, I never got so much as a scratch, which actually seems to affect my prospects for promotion.
How will they have me put to death?
Couldn't tell you. I heard somewhere something about them not wanting to stain the city with your blood. So they were talking about walling you up in a cave somewhere.
Alive?
Yeah, at first.
The cave. That'll be my tomb. That'll be my marriage bed. That'll be my new home. All alone.
It's just what I heard. Listen, if there's anything I can get you, I can always send for it.
No, that's fine. All I'd ask is that you send a letter to somebody after I've died.
What do you mean, a letter?
A letter which I'll write.
A letter. You really push it, don't you? I can't go around delivering letters. It's really more than my job's worth.
I'll give you this ring if you do.
Is it gold?
Yes.
If I get searched and this is found on me, that's a court-martial straight away. The only thing I could do is I could write in my notebook what you would have said in a letter, and then tear the page out. If it's in my writing, it wouldn't be the same.
In your writing. No, that would be awful.
No skin off my nose.
No, keep doing. Right, be quick about it. Where's your notebook? Are you ready? Right, now. My darling.
The boyfriend?
My darling. I had to die. And perhaps you will not love me anymore. Perhaps you would have thought that it would have been easier to accept life, but it wasn't for me. And now it's so dreadful. Here alone, I'm afraid, and I don't even know what I'm dying for.
Easy there. How fast do you think I can write?
Where are you?
I'm afraid.
No, scratch that. No one must know that. They have no right to know. It's like I were naked and they were touching me after I died. Cut all that out and write, forgive me.
Like, I scratched that last bit and I just put forgive me.
Yes. Forgive me, my love. You all would have been so much happier were it not for Antigone. I love you.
So much happier. Not for Antigone. I love you. Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Funny kind of letter.
Yes, it is.
Who should I address it to? Right. That's enough of your nonsense. Off with you then.
So there we have it. That's the end of Antigone. Now, it's Creon's turn. They all get their turn.
The queen! The queen! Where's the queen?
What do you want with the queen? What have you to tell her?
Terrible news. Antigone's been thrown into a cave. They were pushing the last spots of stone into place when Creon and the rest heard a terrible moaning coming from inside the tomb. Everyone stopped and listened, for it wasn't Antigone's voice. It was a different voice coming from the depths of the cave. Everyone looked at Creon and he guessed first. He knew before anyone else, and he started yelling like a madman, "Take the stones away! Take the stones away!" And the slaves leapt at the wall of stone, and Creon worked with them, sweating, his hands bleeding. Eventually, they forced a narrow opening, and the thinnest of them slipped inside. Antigone was in the tomb, hanging by the cord of her robe, and Haman was there, kneeling by her, holding her in his arms and moaning, his face buried in her dress. Eventually, they moved more stones so Creon could climb in. He tried to lift Haman out. He begged him, but Haman wasn't listening. And suddenly, he obeyed. He looked at his father and didn't say a word. And suddenly, he spat in his face and drew his sword. Creon leapt out of harm's way, but Haman kept looking at him, and without saying a word, plunged the sword into his own chest and lay down next to Antigone, holding her as tight as he could, in one enormous pool of blood.
I've had them laid out next to each other. They're together, at last, and at peace. I've had them washed. They're still pale. They look common. Two lovers, the night of their wedding. Their story's over.
Yours is not, Creon. You have something more to learn. You're ready to see your wife.
A good
queen.
woman, always busying herself with her knitting, always knitting something for the poor.
Well, Creon, the poor of Thebes will be cold this winter. When she learned of the death of her son, the queen finished the row she was working on, cast off, and calmly put down her needles. And then she stepped inside her room and cut her throat, Creon. Even now, she's laid out in one of your old-fashioned twin beds, laying there just as she was when you first met her. And if it weren't for the spreading red stain on the bedsheets by her neck, you'd think that she were still asleep.
queen too. Seems they're all asleep. That's good enough. It's been a rough day. You must be good to see.
And now you're all alone, Creon.
Yes. Oh. Boy,
Yes, sir.
I'll tell this to you. The others don't understand. There's a problem. You can't just shove your hands into your pockets and ignore it. And yes, they're right. It is dirty work. But someone has to do it. Don't they?
I don't know, sir.
Of course you don't. You're lucky. You're in quite a hurry to grow up, aren't you?
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, don't be. Never grow up. Bonaparte. We had something at 5 o'clock. What did we have at 5 o'clock, remind me?
Council meeting, sir.
Right. Council meeting. We mustn't keep them waiting. Must we?
And that's pretty much that.
And it's true. Life would have been much easier, certainly more peaceful had it not been for Antigone.
But that's all over now, and they do all seem to be at peace, one way or another.
And all those who are to die have died.
All those who believed one thing, and those who believed the opposite. And even those that had no particular opinion either way, or were somehow caught up in the net of history.
All dead, all stiff, all useless, all rotting.
And all those that are still alive will gradually forget the dead, even forget their names.
It's all over. Antigone is at peace tonight, cured of God knows what fever.
She has done her duty.
And so a great sad calm descends on Thebes, and on the empty palace, where Creon begins to wait his own death.
So there's no one left, really. No one but the gods. And they don't give a damn either way. It's no skin off their noses. They just go on playing cards.
Playing cards.
Playing cards.
Playing cards.